All right. Well, we are here today, Coach Amy with our amazing client, Debbie, who has had some fantastic progress over the last several months. And you've had such an incredible journey. And I think it's a great time to share how you started, where you started from, and where you're at today. And I know that we still are working on reaching kind of an ultimate goal, if you will.
Yep.
But you've made so much progress, and I think there's been so many valuable learning lessons within the progress that you made that it's a great time to share it and hopefully inspire some other folks as well. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have this conversation and to do this with you. Amy, we've talked so much about this, but this program came and you came into my life at a moment when I needed it so desperately and has completely transformed so many things for me over the past 11 months, 10 months, 11 months.
Yes, it
And
goes fast.
yeah, I know. I just couldn't be more grateful for the partnership that we've developed and the way that you've helped empower me to really take control of my own health.
Yeah, and that's really what this program is about. It's not just about me, telling you what to do,
Mhm.
and it's really like it's a partnership, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think one thing that might be helpful for folks to know is, giving some insight in terms of what were the circumstances that you were in when you got
Mhm.
started? Like, what was the situation you were facing? What was the headspace that you were in? Um, just fill people in on what that was like, where you started.
Sure, sure. Um, I've always been an active person. I've always been somebody who, I like to play sports. I play volleyball and tennis. I like eating lots of fruit and vegetables and protein and things like that. But I found, and I've had successful weight loss over the years. But I found myself in a space where I had gained a lot of weight over the last number of years, and I was going through some emotional and physical challenges that led me to sort of um, throw up like my hands and say like help. And specifically, unfortunately, last fall I lost my mom after a challenging disease, and it really threw me into a tailspin. I was really in a dark place and just feeling very down. And I remember having a conversation with one of my friends as I was going through this, where I said, like, I just don't know when I'm ever going to feel like me again. And I was trying to figure out, like, what will help me feel like me again, and there's lots of ways to seek that out. Some people through therapy, some people through exercise, some people through friendships or major changes in their lives. Even a new hairstyle. Like there's lots of,
Yeah.
things that people do. But I knew
Yeah.
I had something, I needed something bigger, and I needed some way to sort of reclaim myself. And part of that was that every time I looked in the mirror, I didn't see me anymore. And coupled with that, so that had happened in the fall, and then in the winter time, on a family vacation, I'm not a skier, but we went skiing. It didn't go well, and I fell and I tore my MCL and my meniscus in my knee, and was in for a pretty significant recovery from that injury. And so all of a sudden, I was faced with the reality of the emotional trauma that I was going through, having already gained a significant amount of weight. And now I really had no outlet for exercise, or so I thought, because I couldn't play volleyball, which was really, a big escape for me and a big source of, friendship and engagement, and also physical activity. And yeah, and so I sort of went seeking someone or some way to help me reclaim myself, and that's when I found you.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to underscore the fact that you were an active person, leading up into all of this. And so having that injury and also, that those feelings about yourself, all of those things, that was a really big hindrance, right? That was a really big hit to what was going on for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was very much, a hit to my identity. You know, everybody knew, all my friends and my family, me, it was like the thing that I did was I played volleyball 2 or 3 nights a week and I loved it. And it was part of who I was. And I felt like I had lost that with the injury and really had no sense of when I would be able to get back to it or if I'd be able to get back to it.
Mhm. Yeah. And I know a lot of times when I talk with women and we have that initial conversation, I hear a lot of times like, I want to get back to myself, or I don't recognize myself. I want to feel good in my skin, things of
Mhm.
that nature. So it sounds like that was a similar feeling that you had as well.
Absolutely. Like I said, you know, I was looking at pictures and I was like, who is that? I really didn't recognize myself and I didn't like it wasn't that I didn't have any self-hatred. I'm not that person and I love myself in all my forms, but I didn't recognize who I was seeing and and it was creating a lot of feelings. And I really was very desperate to see the person in the mirror that I was seeing in my head. And that was so it was very much it was more like goal oriented as opposed to any kind of like shame or anger at myself. It was like, how do I get myself back to seeing in person what I see in my head? And that was where I was struggling and I just wanted someone to like tell me how to do it, you know, give me a roadmap. I can do this, but tell me how to get there. And and that's why that, you know, this partnership has been so amazing that I've had with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you could maybe tell me a little bit about like the deciding factor to move forward and work with me. Like tell me a little bit about that decision process.
Sure. So I had tried other things over the years. 20 years ago, I lost about 50 pounds. I had been also gone through a period where I was overweight and, you know, really decided to focus. And I used, you know, one of the weight loss programs that people refer to often. Um, and it worked for me back then. But I was in my 20s and my body was different. And you know, weight came off pretty quickly and easily. Like it wasn't, you know, it was sort of just a thing that I did. So when I tried that again, I thought, well, it's going to be the same results. And it just wasn't. And then I tried another program that, an online, you know, app program that had come out that people, you know, had recommended, and even my doctor had mentioned at one point. And that's supposed to sort of be psychology based. And that didn't work. I mean, nothing was moving. And I realized something's different. You know, I like, it's not my willpower. That's not the issue. Something about my body is different. And also my needs are different. You know, and when I was in my 20s, I was just responsible for me. Now I have 2 children. I have a very, very full-time job and I'm in my mid 40s, and there were different factors at play that needed to be considered as I thought about a program or an effort or what I needed to do to make this work for me. And when I went online, you know, through Facebook, just sort of looking at what different friends had done, there were a lot of these sort of MLM, you know, programs like Quick Fix, lose 12 pounds in 2 weeks, and you know, friends who had lost a ton of weight, but then I noticed a year later they gained all of it back. I was like,
Mm.
you know, who's doing something that works? And I had seen some people had posted about you on one of my Facebook groups. And I decided to reach out. I realized we had a couple mutual friends. And so I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, do you know this Amy Peters person? What's her story? You know, what do you know about her program? Like, is she legit? What's the, you know? And I had just a couple people who, you know, who knew you and or had met you and said, you know, yeah, she's really awesome. You know, they hadn't worked with you, but they were like, she's terrific. I really think she's got a great handle on this, and her perspective is very much appropriate for women, sort of, you know, in our age range. you should talk to her.
Mhm.
You should give it a try. And so I thought, okay, let's see what happens. And after my first meeting with you, I just thought, gosh, this feels good. I like her. She seems trustworthy. She seems like she really has a very holistic approach, looking at the big picture, not just, she
Mhm.
wasn't that you weren't going to send me out and like tell me to, do 5 days of cardio for an hour every day and that like, eat, rabbit food. Like I could tell that your approach was very much a teaching approach as opposed to an instructive approach, and that spoke to me. And so I kind of it was a bit of a wing and a prayer, because I wasn't sure, but I thought, gosh, nothing else has worked, and this seems really different, and could be something that I could really embed into my life as opposed to having to change my life to fit into, and that was why I went for it.
Yes. Well, and I like how you highlighted too that this was more about like teaching you, right? It's more about guidance versus like, all right, this is the plan that you must follow and,
Hmm.
it's like a robot kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's, when we're dealing with humans, we want to deal with them in a human way.
Yeah, and I mean, I still
Mhm.
remember that first conversation, and I was asking you, I'm like, so as you put together my meal plan, like, I want to make sure you're going to think about this, this, and this, and you were like, no, 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 you're going to build your meal plan, you're going to do meal planning, and I'm going to teach you how to do it, and it made so much more sense because I could make it adjust into what works for my life as opposed to following some prescription that over time would not be sustainable. So that made a really big difference. It was scary because I wanted someone to just like tell me what to do, but
Mhm.
the longer term results were so much more impactful.
Yeah, no, you're totally nailing the essence of all of this. Um, and I think too, sometimes people feel like when the goal is fat loss, there's a little bit of fear and hesitation around, oh, like what do I need to change? Like how dramatically am I going to have to change things? Am I going to have to like totally nix all the fun that I'm having? Am I
Mhm.
giving up everything I love and truly enjoy in terms of food or drinks? And, maybe you can fill the folks in who are listening about like what kind of changes did you make? And, you know,
Mhm.
give a little bit of insight into that.
Sure, sure. So I was really scared about that because I am a creature of habit, and I had um certain snacks and certain things that I just really liked to eat, that I did not want to break from. I had these like spicy pretzels that I was like, I'm never giving those up. Like those are my jam. And I think we also talked about like every night right before I would go to bed, I my whole family, like we all just want a little bit of ice cream, and or some kind of like sweet dessert. And one of the great things that happened was that you helped me think through either one, how I could build those things into my day, so that I could still have the things that I really loved or was craving, and or two, how I could make some healthy swaps that still met that craving for me, but allowed me to reach my goal and really to think about everything that I was eating with sort of that goal in mind. Like, how does this fuel me? And how does this help me continue to achieve my goal? I've done everything else right all day. Why am I letting myself derail, at 10 o'clock at night? And so we did it slowly. So I didn't go cold turkey. One day I ate something and the next day I never had it again. And it took a few weeks for the cravings to die down. And that was something I was really stressed about. I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get over this. But it's biological. Your body says like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then finally, one day, it's like, I could have it. And then the next day, it's like, I don't really want it. And so, allowing that process to happen and sort of having you available to coach me through how to get there was really key, in me successfully sort of getting to a place where I'm still eating the things that I want to eat, but I'm making choices that help me meet the goals that I'm trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really, when we talk about sustainable results, right?
Mhm.
These are the things that are going to help you get there, because we're not
Yeah.
flip-flopping your life completely on end
Mhm.
and changing everything all at once. It's those gradual changes that happen over time.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and friends who I've talked to about the program, I've said that as well, that you know, there are all these different things that I've learned through the program. And Amy, you and I were talking, there was that funny meme on Facebook, and it's like, you only have to do this, 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 and this, and this, like all these
Yeah.
different things to, be successful. But what's great about this program is that you introduce them one at a time, really slowly over a period. And so this is not a like lose weight quick program and, figure it all out on the first day. This is okay, just track for a week. See what's going on. Okay, let's try to adjust your calories for next week. Okay, let's, look at your protein the week after. Okay, let's talk about hydration the week after. The fact that you sort of spread it out, now it's all part of my natural routine. It doesn't feel like I'm doing so much, because you integrate it very slowly into your clients' lives. And I think that that is what breathes success into this program.
Yeah. No, you're completely nailing it. And I'm sure, like it sounds like you had such a smooth time, but you haven't, right? Like there have definitely been challenges along the way.
Yep.
So what things would you highlight as maybe one or two challenges, or, some things that have popped up for you that seem tough and but we were able to overcome?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I there's several, I've had my weight, as Amy and I have discovered, like it tends to come down and then it like plateaus and sometimes goes up a little before it goes down again. And that's
Mhm.
really stressful. You're doing the same thing and you're not getting the same results. And Amy has really been, you've been amazing at one, coaching me through like the mental side of it, but two, figuring out, you know, well, what aren't we seeing? Or, what are the hidden factors that may be contributing? And sometimes it was that, I had sort of stopped being really diligent about, weighing my food, or maybe I was eating out a number of times and wasn't aware really of how much fat or salt, was in what I was eating. Or, I had a period of stress and sleep loss and didn't understand really how that was impacting, my weight, lack of weight loss, or fat loss, I should say. And so you coaching me through that, I think emotionally was really critical, but also drilling down and really looking at the data and really using science to say, okay, like, this is what we see, this is why this is happening, and this is how we shift. And adjusting, helping me adjust, whether it was adjusting my calories or adjusting what I was eating or adjusting the timing of snacks, just a variety of things to help get through it. I also had a
Mhm.
number of celebrations this year, and
Yes, you did.
I sure did. And it's really hard when you are like, at this big event and there's like all this great food, and how do you say no? It's right there.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
totally grew up in the mentality of like free food, eat it all.
Yeah.
And 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 you helped me think through, okay, like what do you need to do to go into tonight and still stay on track? And some of
Mhm.
it was, eating a little bit before so I didn't go in starving. Some of it was deciding like which were the things that I really, really wanted to have, and then making sure that I had a taste of it. It didn't mean I had to eat 10 of whatever the hors d'oeuvre was, or the whole plate of dessert that they served, or whatever the thing
Mhm.
was, so that I really was able to still use the principles that I had learned to keep myself from going off track. And the other thing that you taught me was that it matters what you do most of the time. So one day of, going, eating more than you normally do, or going off track, or having like a really amazing treat or whatever it is, that's not going to derail your progress. You're not going to gain 5 pounds from that. What matters is what you do most of the time, what your consistency is. And so that helped sort of with the mental, aspect of it as well, knowing that I'm not a failure just because I had something that I really enjoyed, not beating myself up about it and really being able to just move forward.
100%. Yes, I love that you underline that because I think that is something that people believe a lot is that they have to be perfect in order to
Hmm.
get results, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
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 And that this isn't a race, there,
Mhm.
um,
100%.
I mean, I had in my head because, when I lost all like 50 pounds 20 years ago, I did it in 8 months. And it was like, well, I have to do it again in 8 months. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? Like, I am not 25 years old and there is no timeline. Nobody's timing me, right? This is my journey, my path, and doing it at a pace that is always making progress, but is sustainable and isn't making me miserable, is worth way more than some false timeline that you attach to fat loss. So that's been really huge for me, and I've still, I've made incredible progress. Like I said, I think it's 10 months, and I've lost 37 pounds in 10 months, which
Yeah.
I'm really proud of myself for. I did not expect to have that kind of success.
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible. And I think too, one of the other aspects that you have mentioned is just noticing how your body's changed
Mhm.
and how weight loss is different from fat loss.
Yeah,
And I was wondering if maybe you could speak to your experience with that.
sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've all read online about, people call it like skinny fat, or I don't know, these like weird terms where
Yeah.
you lose weight, but your body doesn't look or feel different. And it's because what I've learned from you, Amy, is when you lose weight and you don't build up muscle, one, you lose muscle as opposed to just fat, and so your body doesn't look as good as it could. And two, for people who are very overweight, when you lose when you lose fat and you don't replace it with some muscle, you can get like hangy, like loose skin.
Mhm.
And by adding the strength training in, which was not something I had ever done. I mean, I really had no concept. I always was taught that the way to lose weight was cardio, and I hate cardio. And so I'm not a gym person, and I was not going to go and like run on the treadmill for 2 hours or do some, step aerobics class. Like it's just not me. And you said, hey,
Mm.
what if you bought a couple, free weights and, did some stuff at home? And once we incorporated that, I really started to see my body change. And um, first of all, I feel stronger. My body feels better. I wake up in the morning and I always woke up in pain, from sleeping weird or something. I wake
Mhm.
up now, I just hop right out of bed. I don't wake up in any pain anymore. And the other thing that was really remarkable to me is right now, I'm wearing the same size clothing that I last wore when I was 20 pounds lighter than I am right now. And I couldn't figure it out. And I thought, well, gosh, they must have changed sizes. Like everything gets inflated, right? So now, a size 10 today is really what a 12 was 20 years ago. Guess what?
Mhm.
No, it's not. Because I found a dress that I wore to my rehearsal dinner for my wedding. And I thought, well, there's no way I'll fit in that because I'm still not at that weight. And I put it on and it was loose on me. And I thought, what in the heck is going on? And it's
Mhm.
because my whole body composition has completely changed. And I understand that that is due to the strength training because I have built muscle while losing fat, and it has just
Mhm.
changed my whole body composition. And,
Yeah.
that's what people notice, and people are very kind and complimentary, like, oh, you look amazing, blah, blah, blah. But they say like your body looks just completely different. And I can see it, and I can feel it, which is really affirming.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too that the other aspect of this, besides just, the changes that you see in your body, and like you said, it's been, like we talk about that fast weight loss that can happen when you just slash calories, but when you do it in a more sustainable way with strength training, you're keeping the muscle. It's not the scale that's going to move as quickly, but you're going to notice those changes in your body.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but also the fun thing has been your return to volleyball and how,
Yes.
the strength training has played into, helping you have more stamina and just
Mhm.
feeling more powerful in your sport that you love. And I think that's also been an exciting piece of this too.
For sure, for sure. So, like I said at the beginning, um, I did not know if or when I would be able to get back to volleyball because of my injury and just generally like my health, everything. It just felt like so unattainable. And through a combination of, working with a really great physical therapist who was fantastic and coordinating that with the strength training program that, I was doing with you, I was able to return to volleyball in September. And I really felt like it was like my triumphant return. I was like so excited when I got back out there. And the group that I've been playing with, some of them I've been playing with for like 10 years. And when I walked in that first day, they all were like, "Oh my God," because they hadn't seen me in so long, which was lovely, but I was more concerned about the fact that I hadn't played in so long and was I gonna feel like a fool on the court and they're all gonna go, gosh, maybe she should have stayed retired. And not only did it come back to me very quickly, but the things that I noticed were that, at the end of a match, it's just 3 games. Um, Normally I was like exhausted and just ready to come home and like flop on the couch. And now I'm totally fine. I'm like, okay, I come home and most nights my husband and we take our dog for a walk late at night. It's just a good time for us. And, we like the cool evening air. And so, I go to volleyball, I play 3 games and come home and we go on a mile-long walk. And it like,
It's incredible.
yeah, it doesn't even like phase me. I'm hitting the ball harder. I'm able to dive more easily. I have more flexibility. They're just, I'm still a 46-year-old woman playing volleyball, so I'm never
Yeah.
going to be what, never going to be what I was 20 years ago, but I'm playing to my best ability, which is way more than I could say a year ago, even before my injury.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very exciting story to hear that progression. Um, so Debbie,
Mhm.
say, somebody out there is thinking about things in the sense of how you felt about them when you first
Mhm.
started this, or those thoughts that were kind of trickling through your mind. Somebody's thinking about making some changes with their health and their fitness. I would love for you to kind of say, what would you say to that person, and what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say, don't wait. There's don't say that there's always tomorrow because life is short and it's too short to wait to make your life what you want it to be and to live in the body and in the space that you want to be. And it's scary. And to sort of jump into a new program or to hire somebody that you don't really know personally. This is all virtual. I've never met Amy in real life. We've only ever met on Zoom.
Mhm.
Um, but it was easily one of the best decisions I've ever made. This has been a transformational process for me. I sing your praises to everyone that I talk
I
to.
know.
I really do because I just, Amy, I enjoy working with you so much. You have such a graceful and calming presence. You help me stay grounded when I get flustered, and upset or, frustrated about sort of where things are. And you've really, everything that I've learned from you should be common sense, right? Like there's nothing that I've learned that none of us have ever heard before, right? About, calories in, drink lots of water, get your sleep, try not to be stressed, do strength training, like keep your body in motion. But what you helped me do, and I think that's what you help all your clients to do, is you help us put it together and to put it together slowly, so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming all at once, and that it's something that becomes just a part of your life. And I would just say to somebody who's thinking about it, don't wait. Rip the band-aid off, whatever the idiom is, like just go and do it, because the tomorrow you is going to thank the today you over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And you have so much wisdom to share in this experience because you've come so far. And so I want to just say thank you for sharing your story. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
You've
you.
done such an amazing job. This is not easy. And I think
No.
we have to say that, right? Because this
Yeah.
is like, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
But you have put in the consistent effort, and you've stayed very focused on your goal. And I'm just so happy for you, not only for what you have today, the health you have today, the energy you have today,
Mhm.
but also for what that's going to do for you in the future as well. And I know your kids are going to be pretty happy too, right? To be able to get the best years of you for a
Absolutely.
long, long time.
And I want to note on that point, my journey has impacted my whole family. And that's something that I think I want to just flag for people too. My kids have always been relatively health conscious, very, very active kids, but seeing what I've been doing, they have adjusted how they eat. One of my kids has completely stopped drinking soda because he's like, it's empty calories. Why would I do that? Both of my kids have really rethought about how they eat, and are very focused on protein, and are making sure that every meal we start with like protein first. What is the protein that we're going to have? And then how do we fill it in with, fruit and vegetables, and, some light carbs. The insane snacking that was happening all the time, that has dialed down. So there's been a lot of changes that have cascaded as a result. And it's not that I forced it on them, it's that they saw me doing it. And they're both, slim, healthy, like kids. It's not that, they needed to lose any fat, but the fact that they are now thinking about their health in a different way, and building muscle and building energy and thinking about food as fuel, it's really just changed their eating habits and really made it a lot easier for us as a family to eat together, as opposed to some idea of like me cooking something for me and then something different for them. I don't do that. We don't have to do that anymore.
So amazing. Yeah, I think too. And that's one thing that, sometimes people might think like, I'm doing this in a selfish way. Like it's an investment, right? Of time, energy,
Yeah,
financial resources.
yeah,
But the fact of the matter is it benefits your whole family.
it really
And
does.
what a beautiful thing to be able to give to your family.
Absolutely. And seeing also, as we said at the beginning, my mom's health decline, and sort of the challenges that she faced in the latter part of her life. I know that by making this investment in myself now, that I'm heading off many of those challenges that I would otherwise biologically really be destined to face. And so, I mean, my like all of my health, like my blood work, like all my numbers are down, everything is looking great. Um, and I know that the longer term impact of that is costing me, it's costing me a lot less to invest in this now than it would cost me to have to cope with the health problems later. And I feel good. And so
Yeah,
there's no value that you can ascribe to that. That's irreplaceable.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely 100%. Well, Debbie, appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. We're going to
Thank
share
you.
your story everywhere, all over the place, so that people can get inspired by you and your story. So I want to again thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom with us today.
It's my pleasure. And as I've said to you before, but I'll say to you publicly, Amy, thank you. I'm so grateful to have found you. And I'm so grateful for the impact that you have had on my life and that you continue to have. and the impact that will last for years to come because of the way that you've taught me to retrain my thinking. So I just
Oh,
thank you, thank you, thank you.
it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much. All
Thanks.
right, we're going to stop this recording.